Right now, you are probably within arm's reach of food. A kitchen, a fridge, a gas station 3 minutes away. You live in the most food-secure moment in all of human history, and you have never once had to think about where your next meal comes from. But picture this. It is 12,000 years ago. The rain stopped 8 months ago, the animals moved on, the plants died, and your entire group, every person you have ever loved, is slowly starving to death. There's no delivery app, no grain store, no government aid. Just silence, hunger, and a body that is running out of time. Here's the question nobody asks. How did prehistoric humans not go extinct every single winter? For a long time, researchers assumed prehistoric famine was simple. People starved, populations crashed, end of story. The old model treated our ancestors like passive victims of their environment. When food disappeared, people died. When food returned, people recovered. A sad, brutal cycle with no real strategy behind it. But that assumption turned out to be wrong. Very wrong. In 2016, anthropologist Brian Cotting at the University of Utah published a landmark analysis of 47 hunter-gatherer societies across 4 continents. What he found shattered the passive victim model entirely. These groups were not reacting to famine, they were anticipating it, months, sometimes years in advance, using behavioral systems so sophisticated they look almost modern under analysis. Think about this. People with no writing, no calendars, no weather satellites had built entire cultural operating systems around the prediction of scarcity. And those systems were the reason your ancestors survived long enough to become you. But how exactly did they do it? In 1999, archaeologist Julio Mercader excavated a site in Mozambique called Ngaloe Cave. What he found inside changed everything we thought we knew about prehistoric diet. Buried under 42 feet of sediment were sorghum grains, deliberately stored, dating back 105,000 years. 105,000 years! This was not random. This was a food cache, hidden underground, sealed against insects and moisture, preserved with almost surgical precision. Here's what is really interesting. The grains at Ngalu were not fresh. They had been processed, ground, husked, prepared for long-term storage. This means that 105,000 years ago, humans were not just eating food, they were engineering future survival. And Ngalu was not a rare exception. In 2020, researchers at Bar Ilan University documented 780,000-year-old evidence of nut processing at the Gesher Ben Not Yaakov site in Israel, cracking and storing calorie-dense nuts in specific quantities during peak autumn season, building reserves for the cold months ahead. The numbers are staggering. One walnut contains roughly 185 calories. A single prehistoric family stockpiling for winter could cache upward of 400,000 calories in one season. Your ancestors were not guessing. They were calculating. But here's what nobody talks about. Famine survival was not just about food. It was about the body itself. And what prehistoric humans did to their own biology under starvation conditions is one of the most disturbing and remarkable things in all of human history. And it gets stranger. In 2011, anthropologist Herman Ponser at Duke University ran metabolic studies comparing modern hunter-gatherers, the Hadza of Tanzania, with Western sedentary populations. What he found was counterintuitive and slightly horrifying. The Hadza burnt almost exactly the same total calories per day as an average American office worker, despite walking 5 to 7 miles daily, despite physical labor that would destroy a modern gym goer in an hour. Their bodies had learned to compress energy expenditure during movement while hoarding reserves for organ function. The prehistoric metabolism was not just efficient, it was adaptive in real time, down-regulating non-essential systems during famine, protecting the brain and heart at the cost of everything else. Immune response slowed, reproduction paused, growth stopped. The body entered a triage mode so sophisticated that modern medicine only partially understands it. Your body still remembers this. Every time you skip a meal and feel that strange, calm clarity, that is not weakness. That is a 300,000-year-old survival program activating. This is why you still reach for calorie-dense foods when you are stressed. Your brain does not know supermarkets exist. It only knows one ancient survival rule. When resources are uncertain, maximize caloric intake now. The preference for fat and sugar over vegetables is not weakness, it is a famine response running in a world without famines. A 2013 study published in Obesity Reviews by psychologist Paul Lattimore at Cardiff University confirmed that humans under psychological stress consume an average of 40% more calorie-dense food than their unstressed counterparts. Not because they are hungry, because the stress signal and the famine signal use the same neural pathway, a pathway carved out over 200,000 years of real starvation. Think about this. Your anxiety about a work deadline is triggering the same brain chemistry that activated when your ancestors' food supply collapsed. The brain cannot tell the difference. It responds identically. And so you reach for the chips, not the carrots. And a prehistoric survival system quietly, invisibly, runs exactly as designed. Zoom out for a moment. 105,000 years of stored grain, 780,000 years of autumn caching, a metabolism so precisely tuned to scarcity it still controls your choices today. Your ancestors did not survive because they were lucky. They survived because they were brilliant in ways we have only just started to measure. Every famine that should have ended the human story, every drought, every winter, every collapse, was met not with surrender, but with system, with planning, with the body's own quiet intelligence. Right now, you are within arm's reach of food. That was not always true. And the reason it eventually became true, the reason any of this is true, is because 300,000 years ago, someone looked at an empty landscape and refused to give up. That refusal is still inside you. If you want to keep understanding the ancient systems running beneath your modern life, you know what to do. More of this is waiting for you right here. The hunger that shaped humanity never really went away. It just changed what it was looking for.